occupants just came out of the vehicle. The one behind was having a gun. I think it's an AK-47.
His case does not stand alone, as many other similar incidents have been recorded in Accra and other parts of the country. Now, Inspector General of Police John Kudalo says we must all be involved in curbing the armed robbery incidents.
Policing is a shared responsibility, as we say. We will do our part, government do our part, and the citizens too will have to do our part.
John Mark Poko, for instance, was attacked by armed robbers as he drove his 5-year-old daughter to school at 7 a.m. this morning. Very scary, isn't it? So what is accounting for the rise in armed robbery attacks? Is it that the police is not doing enough to check these deviant behaviors? Or is it, as the IGP put it, that we, the citizenry, are not doing enough to support the police? I mean, what really is the matter here? How can the ordinary Ghanaian protect him or herself from these kinds of attacks? This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Brian. The senior staff at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Center, John Mark Poku, was attacked by armed robbers as he drove his 5-year-old daughter to school at 7 a.m. this morning.
I was taking my daughter to school, as we do regularly, and just this around the corner, there was this taxi that came across. It stopped in front of me. So I even attempted pulling back so I could negotiate. But then before I could say jack, all the occupants just came out of the vehicle. The one behind was having a gun. I think it's an AK-47. But very old, yet you cannot underestimate a gun. So I sensed that they were robbers, and they started shouting that I should get down, come out of the car. So I complied because I had my daughter in the back. So I came out, took my daughter out, and also pulled the school bag out of the car. Then they sped off and abandoned the taxi that they were using.
We realized that the taxi that the armed robbers used was a taxi which was reported to have been snatched last night. The driver of that taxi reported to the East Legon police station that his taxi cab had been snatched from him around Christian Center, which is around East Legon here. So his details were taken. So when we realized that it was the same taxi which was used in snatching this Hyundai Santa Fe, what we did was to invite the taxi driver for questioning, because we are suspecting that probably he might also know something about this car snatching that took place this morning, because it is his taxi which was used, and our suspicion is that probably he is in link with these armed robbers who snatched this car, and then maybe he feigned the car snatching last night.
In the northern region, a suspected armed robber was also shot dead today on the Banda Nkwanta stretch of the Bole-Bamboy Road. The deceased, we are told, was one of 3 people who exchanged gunfire with police in the northern region following reports of an ongoing robbery. We can now listen to the public relations officer of the region, ASP Ebenezer Tete, who spoke to us earlier.
So at Banda Nkwanta, it's on the Bole-Bamboy stretch of the highway. The robbers, numbering about 3, stopped the Benz bus, and they were about to rob the passengers on board when the highway patrol team received a distress call. So they proceeded quickly to the scene. On reaching the scene, the armed robbers saw them from afar and they opened fire on them. The policemen did not hesitate. They also opened fire in self-defense in equal measure. And in the process, one of the robbers was hit. 2 others managed to run into the bush. But we are suspecting that they have sustained gunshot wounds. So as we speak, 1 is dead, 2 others are on the run, and we are still pursuing them.
Okay. For the area where this happened, what of security? Because if you're looking for these other 2 people, clearly the people in that area should be able to help you in finding them.
Yeah, exactly. So that is why we are appealing to the residents, especially around Bandang Kwanta and then the surrounding villages, that if anybody comes, especially to the health centers around those areas to treat himself and they suspect the person to be a criminal, somebody who is involved in any criminal activity, they should not hesitate to report quickly to the police so that we can come for those persons. And we are also intensifying our search for them around the areas where they have run into. So we are in a serious collaboration with the people, especially the residents around those areas, to help track these 2 people. You are aware that on Sunday, a police officer who was on duty at Tinga, also on the same stretch, he was actually stationed at Bole. He reported at Tinga, realizing that he has left something very important, home. He took a public transport, and on his way, armed men who were hooded stopped the vehicle on which he was traveling on. And when they saw that he was a policeman, he was actually wearing uniform. They turned their, guns on him. He was shot. He was molested. But for the timely intervention of another patrol team that arrived timelessly at the scene, they would have killed him. So they also did not succeed in robbing, but they fled into the bush. We are suspecting, although their identity was, kind of disguised, we are suspecting that these persons may be the same people who are perpetrating that criminality on that stretch of the road.
Okay.
That's not all. The police officer who shot and killed a murder suspect and 1 other person at Majo today has been detained. Sergeant Adoye opened fire at Adisha Bagaji and Joseph J during an attempted arrest. Adisha Bagaji was a suspect for the homicide of an unnamed man during the Teshi Homo Festival in August last year. The Accra Region Police PRO ASP Fiating briefed the media on the incident. She says investigations have been opened into the matter.
In order to prevent further clashes and for the maintenance of peace and order, the police advised both factions to celebrate the festival and the sprinkling of kwekpele in their respective homes until the chieftaincy dispute is fully resolved. However, on the 26th of August 2015, while celebrations were ongoing at the chief's palace, the same opposing faction who had engaged the chief in a previous confrontation armed themselves with offensive weapons, including machetes, knives, and missiles, and they attacked 1 person by name Sule Musa, killing him in the process. The police was able to arrest 5 of the suspects and arraign them before court. The court issued warrants of arrest for 5 others, including 1 Adisha Begaji, but all attempts to cause the arrest proved futile. Yesterday, that is the 20th of January 2016, the police received information that the said suspect, Begaji, was being harbored by 1 Joseph Ejay at Majo, a suburb of Accra. The police led by the investigator in this case proceeded to the location. And at about 1:30 a.m., when the police proceeded to the location and in the process of effecting his arrest, the main suspect and the person harboring him allegedly attacked the police with a machete and an axe.
In all of these, what is the IGP John Kudalo saying? We can listen to a very interesting conversation he had with the morning man, Kojo Yankson.
We do statistics and then scientific analysis. And as I talk to you now, the armed robbery trend is low. Of course, rightly mentioned, Amman From was in crisis so far as armed robbery was concerned. And we've taken immediate steps to have that thing toned down. So I would say that Amman From lived in fear of armed robbery, but are still not living in fear of armed robbery. We've put a police station there, and we raised it to a district status. We have every day, every night, policemen going there to support patrols there. And I'm sure some of the good people I'm from may call in to ascertain what I'm saying. Armed robbery has, I would say, over the years been corrupted. When I say corrupted, the real meaning of armed robbery is not what we give to armed robberies. You know, armed robbery when you are coerced with some gun, knife, or something to be robbed or something taken away from you forcefully. But here we are, anything we say armed robbery, most of the time they are break-ins. The robberies will happen in our absence. When we are out at our workplaces, people go break into our houses, steal our things, we say armed robbery.
That's burglary, right?
Burglary, yeah. Now, there's a very interesting case about a friend of mine who I met when I was in one of my UN mission duties. He's a security officer, a Ghanaian security officer with the UN. He visited recently during the Xmas, and then we call ourselves Nana Nana. When so Nana, I'm Robert Snime Pasa. I so what happened? He said went to the bank, cashed I think 10,000 Ghana, 5,000 Ghana cedis, and went to one of the suburbs in Accra, mentioned the place, to go and buy our this delicacy wache because it's not ate it for a long time. The surgeon outside Ghana. And when he returned, his boot has been forced open and the money taken away. He said, armed robbers. Armed robbery. This is the perception we are having now. So everything is armed robbery. Everything is armed robbery. Of course, it's a canker we know is real and which we are focused on fighting to reduce. So we will advise that personal security tips that we give every day should be taken seriously by the public. And that will help us to be able to police them because we cannot do it alone. Without their support and then also consciousness in fighting armed robbery. Like outside, you see people, they see strange faces within their vicinity, they call the police. Here we don't have that, what they call it, attitude. So beg them to cooperate with the police because we cannot do it alone. But I promise them that we shall do all that is within our policeman-like power to ensure that armed robbery is brought to its lowest ebb.
That was the IGP John Kudalo having a conversation with the morning man, Kojo Yankson. Let's do some analysis now. On the phone line is Dr. Kwesi Enin. He is a security expert with the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Good evening to you. Many thanks for your time on today's big story.
Well, it's a great pleasure.
Dr. Enin, thanks so much for joining us on today's big story.
Well, it's a great pleasure.
A lot of armed robbery attacks today, and it's been like that for some time now. I can tell you a lot more people fear for their lives and they think their lives are in danger now. How do you feel about all of this?
No, the sense of fear, I think, is legitimate. Armed robberies are pretty, they are dangerous. You know, they can behave in an irrational manner. And of course, the last thing you want is to lose your life. But I mean, we have these, fluctuations where there are periods when there are no armed robberies or there are very few armed robberies, and then there are the explosions. But armed robberies tend to increase during periods of uncertainty as we head towards elections or in the immediate post-election period. So, unfortunately, we will see actual armed robberies on the increase as we head towards December this year.
But it's rather unfortunate. The IGP says armed robbery is on the low, yet we are seeing more and more of that each day. How do we reconcile this?
No, I think I found Mr. Kudelo's differentiation very interesting. I think it's important to see, because when it's an ordinary burglary and you call it armed robbery, it leads to the usage of resources in a different income. Let me say that irrespective of the differences in interpretation, we are beginning to see something very interesting. The newly appointed Interior Minister is an expert in small arms, so I'm expecting that Mr. Prosper Bani and the IGC will begin to work closely on controlling small arms availability.
Right.
And Mr. Prosper Bani's expertise in this is worldwide. So I think we need to tap that expertise and to say, look, Mr. Minister, can you tell us what we ought to do as ordinary individuals, first to protect ourselves and to control the arms that are in the country so that we can all feel safe? And I think Mr. Bani can do it.
I mean, come to think of it, for instance, this morning's attack, the staff of the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Center says that one of the armed robbers was holding AK-47. How easy is it to come by these kind of arms?
No, it's not easy at all. Look, getting military-grade assault-type weapons is very difficult. But I think if we go back to the Kumasi case, this is reflective of some of the challenges that we face in terms of attempting to control, to mark, to track, and then to stockpile up. So there's a bit of work that the newly appointed minister, the IGP, and all of us as ordinary citizens have to do to ensure that we can provide the intelligence needed.
Right. So should we just fold our arms and watch? Because the IGP has said that the police will do its best. Have we seen the best from the police in recent times?
Not yet. And I think for him, the police doing their best also means that we are providing the intelligence, we are providing the information that he needs, we are ensuring that we ourselves contribute to creating secure environment by behaving in ways that contributes to the rapid deployment of the police, by providing, assessments and information that is accurate. Look, if a crime happens or an armed robbery happens, and the police arrive on the scene, and to say, can you describe the people who took part in it? We can do it. What was the color of the car? What was the color of their shirt, their trousers? Okay, so we as citizens, and of course this is in collaboration with the police, must be trained to be sharp and perceptive about our environment,
right? To
be able to look around us so that we can provide the information that's needed to get the job done.
Mm. But, well, the IGP says that it's a collective responsibility, which I agree. But to what extent is it the police duty to protect the individual?
I think I can twist it around. To what extent also is it our collective responsibility for those of us who fear to see the police as partners? My argument is that the onus is on the police to stretch their hand and to say, please, my dear friend, can you help us?
Right.
And I think I like the IGP's point about the collectiveness of security.
Right.
That everybody has a role to play, and when we play it well, based on trust, respect, and reciprocity, we can all be safe.
Hmm. So what can we do as individuals? What can we do to prevent some of these attacks on ourselves? And how can we all assist the police as well?
Well, you have a two-part question. What can we do? I think we need to be sensitive and conscious about our environment. We move out of the house. Who are those who are around? Which car is following us for like 15, 20 minutes? Let's do a left or right turn and see whether the car follows us. 2 more quick turns. If they are following us, then let's drive to the nearest police station. In terms of assisting the police, I think we've got to build a trusting, dialogic, collaborative partnership with the police. You see, because if we do that, the behavior of the police is open, transparent, trusting. We will provide the information, we will engage, and I think that helps all of us. And I think it's important that we do it because we've got to ensure that goodness triumphs the evil that we are seeing in our society.
Well, many thanks to you. Dr. Kwesi Enin is a security expert from the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. I've been talking about some security issues and narrowing down to today some of the armed robbery attacks that we've had, very scary incidents, and we're also juxtaposing it with some of the issues we've had in recent times. And then we've been talking about what the IGP has been saying and the fact that he thinks armed robbery is on the low. Meanwhile, we're seeing these things over and over again every other day. And so we find it difficult to marry the two, whether armed robbery is on the increase or it's rather on the low. But one interesting thing he says is that the police will do its best to combat this kind of attacks in the country. And he's saying that he needs the cooperation of individuals and every other person. He actually says that it is a collective responsibility, and so we will all have to put our hands together to get it done. We're still trying to get Ken Atefua, who is a criminologist. I'm told he's on the line. Good evening to you, Ken Atefua. Thanks for your time on today's big story. So quickly, let's look at how we got here. How did we get here? Crime is on the increase. How did we get here? Well, Ken Atefua is not. We lost him on the line. We'll still get back and get him back on the phone to do some analysis with him. We'll take a short break on today's big story, and we'll continue afterwards. This is today's big story. We're still trying to get criminologist Ken Atefua to speak to us on this matter. But of course, the IGP has assured us that we can go to sleep because the police will do its best. But it's also asking us to also contribute our quota to helping secure our country. You heard little of the interview he granted us. I think we can listen to more of what the IGP has been saying about armed robbery attacks.
You may not have been briefed about this, but just last night there was another incident at Amamfrom, and I am told reliably that it is an armed robbery incident. So I'm sure it'll be brought to your notice at some point. Yeah. But Amamfrom is not alone. There are other parts of the country that are suffering from this, and very often the response we get from the police is, take care of yourself. Make sure you protect your property. In some areas, politicians have even told the people living there to pay money for a police post to be provided or a police station to be provided for them. It creates the impression for some people that we are being asked to deal with this ourselves.
Oh, I would not say so. We all agree that the communal spirit should be there to assist, because our police stations are not so many in the country. We have been forced to open a lot of districts and stations now, all trying to bring policing to the doorstep of the people. So I think all these things have been done in the general view of bringing policing to the doorstep of the people. Whatever government can, it has been able to build some police stations, and for us, the assemblies has also come to help in that regard. That's what I know, and we ourselves are also doing that. As I talk to you now, we have on paper 40 prototype police stations that we are going to build.
40
prototype police stations across the country, and in support of the Senate. So if other corporate institutions will take this up, I think it will help, because the government cannot do it alone. That's what I think is happening. But we all have to help, because policing is a shared responsibility, as we say. We will do our part, government do our part, and the citizenry too will have to do our part. And together we build a secure environment and country. I think that's what we should look at.
Now, even as you call for corporate institutions to come and assist, I still feel as if the message here is that based on the resources provided by government, the police is not actually being put in a position where you can do your job and protect Ghanaians. You need help from elsewhere.
I will not say so. That's not what I'm saying, because if you are talking about this, you are talking about logistics and maybe vehicles, personnel. In that regard, I think government has resources very, very well. And now I'm talking about police presence in the communities. That's what I'm talking about. We have to assist, because as I said earlier, 40 prototype offices by SNIT is a goodwill which the police is going to seize, and we are going to break the ground very soon. It's quite advanced. And then these assemblies in their functions also have to provide security for their men. So I think what I'm saying is that we should all try to do things that to not like fear and panic. But I think it's not really the point of fear and panic by saying that the police is not everywhere. But that, I said earlier, it's a shared responsibility. The police has our role to play. We are not everywhere all the time, and the government cannot put us everywhere all the time. I mean, we are this is what I call it, restricted by numbers, and every year we have been recruiting. So what I'm saying is that the government and the police are doing their part. The citizens too also have to do their part. So together, we build a secure society, because the policing is a shared responsibility. If you go outside the jurisdiction of Ghana, most counties, if you go to Britain and other places, the district councils are those who build the police stations. County police, they manage the police and everything. And these are best practices, and I think that's what we are talking about, what we are moving to, that the councils, the communities also help themselves, because security is very, very crucial.
So you heard the IGP. He says security is very crucial and the police will do its part. But if anything, what Dr. Enning is anything to go by, then it means that we, the individuals, have to do a lot for ourselves to protect ourselves from some of these attacks, and do not go to bed because the IGP has said so. We also have to do our part as individuals. This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Thanks so much for watching.